This is the largest entry of Formula 2 cars ever. These cars come out now, they get into side-by-side formation. It's going to be a proper rolling start, 2x2. Miles is at risk if he carries on staying ahead of... Darwin is at risk of being penalised unless he allows Miles Griffiths to come up alongside him, which I think is going to happen now. Yes, the cars begin to pair off as they make their way down the hangar straight and into Stowe Corner. So just to remind you of the cars that are watching coming through the pack, in particular Matthew Watts in the number 21 car, who, as I say, had a disappointing race yesterday, but he is very quick, as shown by the fact he had pole position yesterday. Right, so here we go. Miles Griffiths and Darwin Smith running side by side with Andy, the unrelated Andy Smith, on the second row. Here they come then, the race about to get underway for 20 minutes of fabulous Formula 2. We hope with no incidents or safety cars like we had to suffer yesterday. So here we go, up towards Abbey for the first time. It's Darwin Smith who has the drop on Miles Griffiths, and coming through, Martin O'Connell takes second place round the outside of Andy Smith. They're side by side, and it's just the blue chevron. Martin O'Connell just gets in front, but in the lead is Darwin Smith.
Darwin Smith leads up to Village for the first time, but Martin O'Connell closes right up on him on those slick tyres, just managing to control the car under braking. But up on the inside goes Andy Smith alongside Martin O'Connell. Andy Smith very tight through the loop, and he gets alongside. Who will that go to? Well, I think it might go to Andy Smith in the end, but closing up behind them, Neil Fowler as well, and they're three abreast.
Miles Griffiths also, there's three abreast for second place, but of course Andy Smith can use his wet tyres to good effect at the moment. Miles Griffiths on slicks doesn't want to force the issue under braking, so it's Darwin Smith who leads on slicks. In second place is Martin O'Connell. In third place is Andy Smith. And what's happened to Miles Griffiths? That's not Miles Griffiths in fourth place, is it? So
yes, he was fifth through here.
Right, so the on slick tyres. So on slick tyres, Darwin Smith leads. Andy Smith on wet tyres in second place. The two Marches running side by side. The chevron of Martin O'Connell is in third place. Turning through Copse Corner, heading back up towards you, Alistair. It's, at the moment anyway, in the lead is Andy Smith.
It is Andy Smith, yes, and second place, the other yellow car of Darwin Smith. Then it's Martin O'Connell, and then Neil Fowler. And I think Neil Fowler's on slicks as well, isn't he? So
no, he's on wet.
He's on wet, right. So we've got wet, slick, slick, wet at the moment.
There's Miles Griffiths. We just saw him out of camera, just ahead of the car of Mark Charteris. So the mixture of tyres at the moment hasn't really sorted itself out. But Martin O'Connell on slicks in second place, ahead of Darwin Smith on slicks, and Neil Fowler on wet tyres. But at the moment, capitalising on the fact he's on wet tyres, Andy Smith is getting away as they come towards the end of the first lap. So Andy Smith leads, and getting out of the car there, Olivier Huet, a back marker Frenchman in another March 722, similar to Darwin Smith's car. So Martin O'Connell is now through into second place. Remember, Martin is on slick tyres. I still think that slicks are the way to go. Clearly Martin does, from his experience in the previous race. He's got the chevron through into second place. He's got a score to settle from yesterday when he spun out of the top three place on the closing lap. And now Neil Fowler dives down the inside of Darwin Smith, Alistair.
Yes, he does at Village, and Darwin Smith actually has to take to the rumble strip to get through without touching the Neil Fowler car. So it's Andy Smith leading, then Martin O'Connell, then Neil Fowler. Then next up is Darwin Smith in fourth place, and in fifth place, Dan Eagling.
Now Dan's on wet tyres as well, so at the moment the wet tyres are largely the ones to go, but I'm still using Martin O'Connell as my kind of barometer to see how the slick tyre uses are going to pan out towards the end. Miles Griffiths certainly being a bit more cautious than Darwin Smith or Martin O'Connell are on their slick tyres. The Andy Smith then coming through. Neil Fowler is closing up on Martin O'Connell. Fourth is Darwin Smith. Fifth is Dan Eagling in the GRD, but he's on wet tyres too, Dan Eagling.
Up to Beckett's once again, and the wet tyres of Andy Smith working well. Martin O'Connell, fantastic drive from him on slicks to hold second place, and there's a positively a dry line through every corner in our sight now.
Yeah, it's the same here. It's only dry, it's only on the line, you can't get off the line, but down Hanger Straight for the second time. It's Andy Smith leading. Neil Fowler is second, Darwin Smith is third, Martin O'Connell is second, Neil Fowler is third. And just let's see what progress Matthew Watson made. He was 9th on the first lap, number 21 in 9th place. And there's the Motel Rondell, David Tomlin, that's running in 10th place, or was at the start of the lap, number 70 in 10th place. Leaders come through to complete lap 2, and Andy Smith leads by 2.5 seconds to Martin O'Connell at the moment. They're getting well clear of Neil Fowler in 3rd place, with Darwin Smith right behind him, then Dan Eagling, and closing up on them all in 6th place is Miles Griffiths in the number 19 Ralt RT1. So Miles now bringing the slick tyres in. We've still got 15 minutes to go, so there's plenty of laps left in the race. They're passing you, Alistair.
Yes, and not too far behind, but not right on the tail of Miles Griffiths is Mark Charteris, and we spotted on the cameras he's on slicks as well, and I think that was one you were asking about.
Yes,
yeah, so
right.
Mark is on slicks, and the wet shod cars going down the left-hand side of the Wellington Straight now.
Yeah, they're beginning to realise that their tyres, if they're on wets, need looking after. There is 89, Neil Fowler, and he is running on wet tyres. There's number 19 on slicks, Miles Griffiths, yesterday's winner. Begin to rise up the order. I think Neil Fowler under pressure now. Neil Fowler on the wet tyres, and right behind him is Darwin Smith on slicks. And you can see Neil having to move across to the wet part of the road off the racing line to try and keep his tyres cool. But there's still 14.25 minutes to go, so just as you heard the wise old sage that Howden Ganley is saying, take the gamble, go for slicks. I think it's going to be the one that works.
Nothing changes, does it? Great to hear Howden saying that all those years after he was a top-line driver. And the two leaders now well ahead of the rest. And it's Martin O'Connell on slicks chasing the Andy Smith car on wets.
And the turn is happening. On this lap, in the second and third sectors, Martin has been doing the absolute best times, quicker in other words, than Andy in the lead. So I think we're now about to see the tide turning in favour of the cars on slick tyres. But they're in the middle of that group. In third of the cars in that group is Miles Griffiths, yesterday's winner, gaining a place there. Neil Fowler on wet tyres, passed on the inside by Darwin Smith on slicks. And good driver that he is, Neil Fowler is going to struggle now to hang on to that place. Still leading on slick tyres though is Andy Smith at the moment. Led over the line by 0.3 of a second though, not very much at all. Back with you.
Not anymore. Martin O'Connell slides through on the inside at Village, so those slick tyres now really starting to work, and Martin a master at these changeable conditions, and down through Aintree he goes, and new leader Martin O'Connell, second place Andy Smith, third now coming sliding out of the loop is Darwin Smith, also on slicks. Then it's Miles Griffiths, also on slicks. Yeah, Miles Griffiths, he may have had a cautious first lap, but he's now really getting going. Andrew?
Now, what about your man Matthew Watts, though? Look at how I think he's up to 7th place. Magnificent drive from him. Yeah, that's right. So Matthew Watts rising up the order as well from the middle of the grid. But Miles Griffiths is one to watch over the next few laps. Martin O'Connell has got the lead. Now Miles Griffiths is moving. He's got ahead of Neil Fowler. And ahead of him is Darwin Smith. So it's going to be the three from yesterday, I think. But they could be joined eventually by Matthew Watts as well. So we've got there Darwin Smith, number 10, ahead of Miles Griffiths in the number 19 Ralt. It's a shame this is only going to be a 20-minute race, isn't it? It's fascinating how it's going to play out, this, but out in front at the moment is Martin O'Connell. Alistair.
He is, yes, and pulling away every time they turn into the corners. He's braking later, turning in and going through faster. So Martin O'Connell extending his lead over Andy Smith, but Darwin Smith and Miles Griffiths catching Andy Smith now.
I think that's Dan Daly's car just being wheeled out of the way. The Ralt, yes, it looked like a Ralt RT1. Right, so Neil Fowler under pressure from Dan Eagling, and Matthew Watts is right behind them as they turn into Stowe Corner. What tyres did we reckon Matthew Watts was on? Did Andrew get that information for us? But anyway, Matthew Watts looks to be on slicks the way he's going. just negotiating Lincoln Small in the ex-Derek Bell Grabman BT30 1600cc car. They lap it. So Martin O'Connell leading the way from Andy Smith by 1 second now. Andrew?
I think Watson's on the wets, actually.
Well, will they last? You might be right. I think where he was on the grid, it was probably the right thing to do, because you need to be changing lines to work his way through the pack. But then the tyres are going to get worn out. But there we have, in fact, just coming past you, Alistair.
Yes, leaders past us. Miles Griffiths chasing Darwin Smith now, and then this next group coming through, which is led at the moment by Neil Fowler, followed by Dan Eagling, and of course then Matthew Watts. And Matthew Watts pulling to the inside, but Dan Eagling staying on the wet line.
So Darwin Smith with Miles Griffiths right on his tail. They are in 3rd and 4th places. Neil Fowler falling back a bit in 5th place. Dan Eagling behind him, Matthew Watts on wet tyres, we reckon, as well. Mark Charteris on slick tyres. Now, Mark Charteris, number 42, he's on slicks, he's in 8th place. In 9th place is number 20, Simon Fish, and in 10th place is David Tomlin, number 70, in the Motel Rondell. Wolfgang Kaufmann on slicks, isn't he? He's up into 11th place now, number 33. The German driver, very successful GT driver, Wolfgang Kaufmann, former German Formula 3 champion. Leaders passing you, Alistair?
Yes, Martin O'Connell already on the hanger straight, and now second-placed Andy Smith is starting to be reeled in by Darwin Smith and Miles Griffiths, and Miles Griffiths is looking like he wants to challenge Darwin Smith for that 3rd, possibly even 2nd place. Yeah,
that 3rd place battle is now becoming, in a moment, a battle to take over 2nd place from Andy Smith, who's, remember, he's the leading driver now on wet tyres, as he has been throughout, but eventually these tyres are going to go past their best state. There, Miles Griffiths having a look on the outside of Darwin Smith as they go into club corner. Because of the size of the grid, there are quite a few rather slow cars in this, so they're going to have to be lapped to get in the way, unfortunately, to some extent. The 2 cars fighting over 3rd place go through, so Andy Smith still in 2nd place. And side by side for 3rd place, and it's Darwin Smith just holding off Miles Griffiths for 3rd place at the moment. The Ralt still just in 4th place. Neil Fowler in 5th place, but he's now dropped 10 seconds behind Miles Griffiths. That's the deficit now. Neil Fowler, Dan Eagling on wets is in 6th place. Matthew Watts is 7th. Mark Charteris on slicks is 8th. Simon Fish is 9th. No, Wolfgang Kaufmann now. Remember, Wolfgang Kaufmann is on slick tyres. He's too far back to catch the leaders, but he's going to gain a few more places, Kaufmann. He's in 9th place at the moment on slick tyres. David Tomlin is 10th. Leaders into, already through, Brooklands, 2nd place car into Brooklands now. Andy Smith still doing a great job of hanging on to the place, but I think even by the time they get back to you, Alistair, we're going to have a change for 2nd place. So Andy Smith 2nd, and right behind him now is Darwin Smith. Is he going to make a move into Copse Corner? Possibly not, because offline you get caught out by a damp patch. He's got to choose his moment. He's also got to defend from Miles Griffiths as well. The 3 of them nose to tail as they come over the brow back into your sight, Alistair.
Fabulous sight as they come up, but it's still the Andy Smith car that leads that group, and that they've got a very slow car in Beckett's. They're going to have to work their way around that, but he keeps to the left, and the 3 cars go through in the same order.
Great move by Miles Griffiths, took him ahead of Darwin Smith going into Baggots, and now he's also got past Andy Smith, hasn't he? So 2 places gained there by Miles Griffiths. One as he went through on the inside of Darwin Smith going into Maggots, and then he also has now got past Andy Smith and taken Darwin with him, so Darwin Smith is now 3rd, and Andy Smith, the early leader, has now dropped down to 4th place. So quite a shuffle there. Martin O'Connell, meanwhile, coming up to complete his 6th lap, give you the gap that he has, but he's going to be uncatchable, I think, although I'm sure that both Miles and Darwin will give it their best shot. And in fact, already Miles Griffiths pulling away. Martin O'Connell crosses the line. That's 6 laps completed by him. Miles Griffiths is 6 seconds behind in 2nd place. I think that's too much. Ahead of them, they've got the number 12 car. That's Stephen Weller with the Australian-built Elfin 600B, which is no hesitation there by Miles Griffiths to lap it. Dives down on the inside. So Miles Griffiths, yesterday's winner, now in 2nd place. Martin O'Connell, yesterday's spinner, now in the lead. And the 2 Smiths, with Darwin now ahead of Andy, and Dan Eagling up into 5th place, Matthew Watts into 6th place, Neil Fowler has dropped down to 7th place, Mark Charteris is 8th, Wolfgang Kaufmann is in 9th place, and David Tomlin is 10th. The second place back, oh, here's the leader. So we've got number 4, Martin O'Connell, through Luffield, lapping a car just about every corner he is now. Goes through Woodcote on lap 7, 5 3/4 minutes to go. And this race very reminiscent of the Formula 2 Daily Express International Trophies we used to have. The entry was never quite as large as this, but the quality of the racing was superb. This sort of Formula 2 is some of the best racing there is. Proper cars driven by proper drivers, and you've got the leader back with you.
Yes, we have. Martin O'Connell just exiting the last element of Beckett's as Miles Griffiths makes his way past a slower car in the middle element. So the question now when they get round to the timing line is, has Miles made any impression on Martin after wriggling clear of the 2 Smiths?
Well, he's certainly getting away from Darwin Smith, but as you say, is he closing up? We'll see. Well, the gap at the start of the lap was just over 6 seconds, 6.186 seconds. So there's Miles Griffiths in the Ralt. Miles has grown up on historic racing cars, whereas Martin O'Connell's really gone the other way. He began but ran out of money to progress through Formula Vauxhall and then Formula 3, won the national class of the Formula 3 Championship some years ago. And Miles has come up through the historic racing route. There he goes over the line in 2nd place. He's done the new fastest lap. He's pulled back 1 second. He's going to run out of time, unfortunately. Can we somehow extend this race a little bit to have a Silverstone type finish? So Martin O'Connell leads Miles Griffiths by 5.15 seconds. The new fastest lap, 2 minutes 9.046. The Smiths are 3rd and 4th. And then we've got Dan Eagling some way back. There's the 2nd place car with you, Alistair.
Yes, just coming through the loop, and Martin O'Connell's just had to deal with 2 slower cars, and he's got 2 more going down into Brooklands, but both Martin and Miles very experienced at getting through slower cars, so they shouldn't change the positions too much, but it just depends where they catch them with this wet track on the offline.
That's right, yes, so they have to choose the moment with a little bit of care, because of even though the car they're lapping is going significantly slower. So through Woodcote goes Martin O'Connell. See how much the line is drying and expanding. There in the background is the Ralt in 2nd place. There it is. And the gap incidentally between Miles Griffiths and Darwin Smith in 3rd place has gone up to nearly 3 seconds last time through. We've got the leader back with you for the 8th time, Alistair.
Yep, sweeping through Beckett's. Miles Griffiths makes his way past a slower car through Maggots, and I think he actually had to put 2 wheels on the curbing there to get the space to get through on the inside, so it might have just cost him a fraction, but it's still Martin O'Connell leading, Miles Griffiths, and then Darwin Smith, and Andy Smith still holding on those wet tyres in 4th.
Yes, in 4th, ahead of Matthew Watts, who's come up to 5th place now. Now, Matthew started on the 9th row of the grid, so showing the pace now that he wasn't able to show yesterday. Matthew Watts up into 5th place, ahead of Dan Eagling. Mark Charteris is 7th, Wolfgang Kaufmann is 8th. 9th is David Tomlin, 10th is the number 54, Mike Wrigley. Behind him, Simon Fish in 11th place. Mark Hazel's dropped down to 12th place, ahead of Rob Wainwright. Leaders have gone through, 3.6 seconds behind them. Another new fastest lap by Miles Griffiths, 3.6 seconds. But they've got one more. I reckon they've got one more lap after this one.
So it's all down to the last couple of laps, and into the loop they come. Martin O'Connell turns in. Miles Griffiths is the next car now. No back markers between them as they turn through the long left-hander, then Aintree, and then the Wellington straight. So no doubt Martin O'Connell is well aware of who and where the chaser is.
Here they come then, staying on the damp part, on the dry part of the straight as they head towards Brooklands, through Brooklands. Miles Griffiths really piling on the pressure to do what he can to whittle away at that gap. Well, it's down, as I say, to 3.6 seconds. It really depends on the back markers now. If either of the leaders is caught out by a tail ender, then that could have a serious effect on the outcome of the race. There's Miles Griffiths to Copse Corner. They should get to the end of this lap in time to start another one, but that will be the final one, unfortunately. Very much a race that could go on for a good deal longer. There's forcing his way there past number 29, Frank Lyons, with the Chevron B29, the ex-Richard Morgan Tom Wheatcroft racing car. So now on to Hanger Straight. Now, of course, Martin can, to some extent, get the benefit of a slipstream from one of the cars he's lapping, and I think he's done that there. There's the third place car of Darwin Smith in the Mark 722. And the leader will be through in a moment to complete. How long have we got? Yes, we've got half a minute on the clock. So Martin O'Connell will be over the line any moment now to start his last lap in the blue, pale blue Chevron. So Martin O'Connell goes over the line. It's down to 2.8 seconds. That's too much, I think, for Miles to do anything about. There's Martin O'Connell going through Abbey. There is the result in second place of Miles Griffiths. The gap is down to 2.8 seconds. Another new fastest lap by Miles Griffiths. His lap time now 2 minutes 7.5. They're lapping a fair bit quicker than they did at the best yesterday. So Martin O'Connell into the loop for the final time.
Comes out of the loop, just kisses the curb, but not too much, and Miles Griffiths exactly the same line, and they go through Aintree and down the Wellington Straight once again. I think you're right, there's just too much there. Miles was just a little too cautious. Martin was prepared to hang it out a bit at the beginning, wasn't he?
Well, he had the benefit of having been in the previous race. I'm sure that played a part in it, taking nothing away from him, because we know what a quick driver he is. But I'm sure, knowing where the damp patches were, they had just one. Miles had just had the one lap in this car, but Martin's experience of driving the whole of the previous race, in fact, as I'm sure played a part. Wolfgang Kaufmann has pulled off here. Disappointing after he'd been going, he was in 7th place, but Wolfgang Kaufmann, number 33, has just pulled off on the inside of Abbey. So there you can see on the screen pulling out of the car, but what are the gaps doing? Absolutely flying. Miles Griffiths, absolute best first sector on this lap. There's Martin going through. You've got him, Alistair.
We have, yes, through Beckett's, and the gap is closing, but Martin O'Connell now going through Chapel Curve onto the Hanger Straight for the last time. Closing
and closing and closing, but what we need another couple of laps to give Miles Griffiths a chance of taking it, the second win of the weekend. Into Stowe Corner, it's still Martin O'Connell in front. Miles Griffiths is second. That's the way it's going to finish. We're going to see them. There we are, coming into Club Corner now. Martin O'Connell has done enough. The early laps were the ones that really helped him when he fought against the cars on the wet tyres. Through they come, up to the checker flag. One more lap and Miles Griffiths might have done it, but Martin O'Connell, a magnificent comeback from his race yesterday. Martin O'Connell wins. It was being bowled on the slick tyres on the slight damp circuit earlier on. There's Darwin Smith in third place in the Mark 722. Sandra, over to you.
Yeah, so Martin's just getting his crash helmet off there with a BRDC badge prominent on the front of it. Off it comes. Well, it was kind of zero yesterday after that spin. Very much hero today, mate.
Yeah, it was a good race. You know, it's tricky at the beginning, and Richard was on the right tyre at the start of the wet, but you know, it was always going to dry as long as it didn't rain. And I got a bit lazy in the middle, to be honest. We got caught with a yellow, and I lost a bit of time, and then I got a bit lazy and saw Miles come in, so I thought I better get a bit of a move on again. But yeah, it was good, it's great.
Obviously you'd raced the Chevron before. Did that help you, the Chevron B8 that is, did that help you make the decision to go on the slicks?
Probably, I don't think so really, because it was fairly clear what the situation was really. But you never know with the clouds, you know, it looked like it was going to rain, and you just never know. But we got through, so it's great. And Miles had a good run as well, so it's wicked.
Outstanding driving. Just go over to Miles quickly if we can. He's talking to his team boss, Walker there. Miles, just get you in front of the camera here. Well, you had a good push there. You kept him honest at least.
Yeah, I was a bit tensive at the start and got out onto the wet bit of track on slicks, so lost a few places and then just tried my best to get as close as I could by the end.
Was there any point you thought, I should be on the wet?
Only the outlap. Once we got racing, it was fine.
Yeah. Good race, wasn't it? What a fantastic show from these Formula 2 cars. I mean, you're racing quite a lot of cars this weekend, but would you say the Formula 2 is your favourite?
Absolutely, especially around this circuit. It's so quick. Even in them conditions, they feel fast, so it's great fun.
Great comment. Thank you very much. So that's the top two for you.
Okay.
Martin O'Connell then the winner in the Chevron B40. Number 4 in second place, Miles Griffiths in the number 19 Ralt RT1. In third place, number 10 Darwin Smith in the earlier car, the March 722. In fourth place, the first finisher on wet tyres, Andy Smith in the March 742. In fifth place, Matthew Watts in the March 772. Also on wet tyres. In sixth place on wet tyres on the GRD 273, Dan Eagling. In seventh place, David Tomlin with the Rondell Motel, number 70. In eighth place, Mark Hazel with the March 782, number 28. In ninth place, Mike Wrigley with his Chevron B42, number 54. And in 10th place, Mark Charteris with his March 742, number 42. So there we are, those are the top 10.
And the podium, everybody, for race 15 of the weekend, our second race of the weekend for the HSCC Historic Formula 2. Two tremendous races we've been treated to this weekend for the Silverstone Classic. Let's get the top 3 drivers onto the podium in reverse order, starting with third place, Darwin Smith. Well done, Darwin. Congratulations. Over to the far end of the podium he goes. In second place, Miles Griffiths. Well done, Miles. Winner from yesterday, second place today. Just wanted another lap or so, I reckon. And then the winner on the top step of the podium, number 4, Martin O'Connell. Well done, Martin. Congratulations. He makes it onto the top step of the podium, and Steph Crouch from the HSCC will step forward to make the presentation. First of all, to the second place driver from yesterday, third today, Darwin Smith. Miles Griffiths, winner from yesterday, second place today. And Martin O'Connell takes the top step of the podium with a kiss for Steph, a garland around the neck, and a huge Winners Silverstone Classic trophy. That's all right, he says, as he looks at it, and all 3 of them pose on their respective steps of the podium. And then get together, please, on the top step of the podium for the photograph of all 3 of you. A round of applause, please, for Martin O'Connell, Miles Griffiths, Darwin Smith, and for the first time this weekend, we have a celebratory champagne shower.